Hey, thank you for coming by. Tori Magoo 44. Today is the 23rd of July, 2014. And it's a wonderful day for me. 14 years ago, I believe it was yesterday or today, right around one of these days, I escaped out of the Church of Scientology. It was very dramatic. I've talked about it, made tons of videos about it. If you want to hear, I made a 10-part series about it a year ago or so. And you can just type in Tori Magoo 44 plus sign escape and watch the whole 10-part series. And it really tells how I woke up, blah, 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 and the whole escape and everything. But every year around this time, I just want to recap something. And I kind of wanted to tell you guys a little bit of what happened to me after escaping out, right? Because I told you I've left and I've talked about what happened afterwards too, but just in case you missed it or you haven't seen it, or even if you have, you might see a little bit of it or understand a little bit more about what happened. Okay, so I woke up. I was in the cult for 30 years. I wake up. I got a. It's like a triangle. Just for anybody new, it's like a triangle. I got up to the top, and it didn't work. And I had massive migraine headaches. So I started looking for other solutions, and I found this lady, Louise Hay. You can heal your life, and I started using it, and it helped me a lot. I didn't get rid of the headaches with that, but it did help me start broadening how I was looking at things, which was when you're in a cult, you're not looking at anything really, especially Scientology. Academics have told me the two worst cults are the Moonies and the Church of Scientology. Why? Because they build these traps in your head and you can't look. So now I'm looking, right? And I start reading and I start reading more books. And me and Nancy Maney are kind of like tag teaming on this, finding different books and people we're listening to on the radio and stuff like that. All very secret because we're in the church and you're not supposed to be doing that. But we are. And neither of us talk about it except we are. Um, but it's a pretty dramatic time. I finally leave, I get out, I get chased across the country, which is all in the Escape series. Now I come back home and they just start picking on me. And you have to remember back in 2000, there weren't that many people that were speaking out that said their names. And I only said my name because I really, really did not know how big the internet was. I had no clue. I had helped shut down Battlefield Earth message board on my own. And it wasn't too hard to get it shut down. So I thought, okay, maybe I can shut down ARS, which was Alt Religion Scientology, having no clue that this one was a little message board, the other one's the international, all around the world, you know, just huge, tons of people, right? So it was really different, but for me, it was kind of fun because of course, I lost all my friends overnight as soon as I left. And they started doing their fair game. Fair game being you can lie, cheat, steal, destroy someone utterly, Hubbard said, if they say things against him or the church, right? And I started writing things all the time. You can still type in, I think it was Miss Magoo 55 was my nickname. And you can type it in and it'll come up plus alt religion Scientology. And I think the old posts are still there, but they were crazy. I made 4,000 posts in 4 weeks and they were just absolutely nuts. But one of the funny things on it, I'm not going to tell you it anyway. It's too long to tell, but it just was very, very funny because I really didn't believe, I had no idea how big it was. So now I escape out and they start picking on me and doing different things. And my friends are sort of like, I think you're just too paranoid. That's all it is. And these are ex-Scientologist executives who'd been out for years, right? And I start telling them what's happening. They're like, "No, I don't think so. I don't think that's a church. I think you're just imagining it, right?" So I called Jesse Prince and thank Jesse Prince forever. I mean, he has helped me so much. And he said, "Tori, I want you to listen to me very carefully. This is called psychological warfare. They absolutely do it. I ran it when I was in the church." He was like way up with Miscavige, right next to him, right? Running the church. And he said, "I used to run it and they'll do whatever they can do to basically drive you insane. That's what they're working on. So you need to watch your back and you need to know if it's weird for you, Tori, it's Scientology, right?" So you can imagine, I mean, back then there weren't that many people that were speaking out. I had friends, thankfully, that helped me. And bless their hearts, because for the first 2 years after losing my husband, I cried, I think, all the time. I'd burst out crying. Whenever I'd walk into one of our old haunts, I'd just burst out crying. And my friends, I set up like 4 or 5 friends, and I could call them, and they would either have me come over to their house or they'd just talk me through it. But it really helped me in the 2 years and helped me get through it. So, during that time, I mean, if you see pictures around the internet of me, I've got my little red horns on, right? And that was, and I've got my top on to match tonight. That's right. There you go. But my horns I wore just to make fun of them declaring me SP, because I knew they would, which is suppressive. Here's my SP declare. I knew they would. And I didn't know they. I thought they. I didn't know. I'd been around people that were out of the Church of Scientology, and I thought they still did ethics and a fitness board and a committee of evidence and all this. They don't do any of that anymore. They just, you're out. So it's unbelievable how great it is for us on this side, because they're popping people out faster than popcorn. So it's good. But, they did that. They sprayed my rearview mirror, and I took it to Pep Boys. The guy said it's the Church of Scientology. I said, how do you know? And he said, because you got a nice radio. A gang would have taken it. They didn't, so it's a church. And just thing after thing after thing. So meantime, during that time, once Tom Cruise started doing his really weird thing where he's jumping on Oprah's couch, I had said over and over to Miscavige, because they were doing all this shit against me, right? And I said, and I kept writing, karma, tick tock, time is on our side, and karma will get you. And I also said, and it's going to be something that you least expect. And when Tom Cruise leaped on Oprah's couch, even I was like, oh my God. And then when he goes on Matt Lauer and says, you don't know the source of psychiatry, I do. It was just like, oh, I sat there going, bingo, right? And sure enough, radio and TV started calling me. We need to interview you tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was like, okay. I just started doing it. I was working, but I met with Inside Edition, did an interview, met with CNN, did an interview, Rolling Stone magazine, German TV, just on and on and on and on and on, because not many people would speak to the media back then. They were very frightened of them. I didn't have that option. It was just like I had announced it on the internet, so I was a public figure. I had already made videos. If you haven't seen it, the OT panel, which is Greg and Deborah Barnes, Peter Alexander, and me. And that came about because we were all just sitting around, kind of sharing stories, which still happens. I mean, Jesse and Nancy and me and a few other friends, we were all sitting around talking just recently. And I was like, oh my God, we've got to get the camera out again, because it's just fabulous stories that fill in things that for people that are like, well, what happened here and what happened there? And, it's really cool. So that we made that video, which was the OT panel. That went up on the internet, and that had tons of people. And I also put my phone number on the internet early on, because I knew OSA would if I didn't. So that was cool, because tons of people started calling me, and I got to meet all kinds of people, and that's been very cool. We kept picketing all along during this time. I started doing all the interviews. We were picketing with maybe 10, 20 people, right? And finally, in 2008, somebody leaked that video of Tom Cruise. You're either in or out, right? He looked wacko. And of course, the Church of Scientology ordered it off YouTube, and YouTube just took it up. Anonymous shut down their website for 3 days. And that was the beginning of the end for them, because it totally cracked everything open. I mean, there were people in we did a picket of 9,000 people around the world. And literally, they were everywhere. Anonymous was. And it kept going. And Barker and I said, if they would just leave them alone, they'll be gone in a week, maybe 2 at the most. But if they do what the Church of Scientology usually does, we're going to have Anonymous around for a long time. And that's exactly what happened. They started following them and going to their houses. I made that video to the Anonymous parents. I don't think all of Anonymous are kids. I know they're not. I know there's plenty of adults that are Anonymous. But that video was to the kids, because kids were calling me saying, we want to picket. But our parents are upset about it, because Scientology is saying X, Y, and Z, that they're these terrorist organizations. So I made that video. But a lot of people complain on the video saying, we're not kids. You know, I know you're not all kids. I know that. And I know that Anonymous, anyway, I got it. But luckily they came, they made their mark. The books are out there. It's fabulous. The media, thank you so much to everyone who has helped expose the insidious abuses of this creepy, fraudulent business, pretending to be a religion, the Church of Scientology, which nothing could be farther from that. It's a mafia-like organization. So to all of you who help expose their abuses, the key ones being stopping free speech, breaking up families, fair game, roping, milking people for money, fraudulently, and medical abuse, and roping in young kids, way too young, and making them into slaves. All of those, for anybody who exposes those abuses regarding this fraudulent organization pretending to be a church, I thank you from the top and the bottom of my heart. I love you. I thank you. And thank you for hanging in there with me and being part of YouTube, for YouTube people, for Facebook people, for my friends. I love all of you. And I'm out. Bye.